Thank you so much for joining us here at Freedom Church Online. God is moving in incredible ways, and it's because of the generosity of people just like you that we are able to carry out the vision of reaching people far from God. Just go to freedomchurch.tv/giving and choose from the many options available to give at Freedom Church. Now, let's get ready to hear a life-changing message from God's Word.
I want to dive into this message, and it's Mother's Day weekend, which is always a funny message to prepare because you got to talk to the moms, but you got to talk to everybody else because you don't want to. I don't want everybody else to be like, well, today was just for moms. I just sit here and do nothing. This message didn't apply to me at all. I don't want that to be the case. So trying to think through what that looks like every single year and based on which series it's going to fall in. Determines kind of the direction that we go. I think that today we're going to talk about something that's going to help every single person here, and this will kind of be the gauge to know if this is going to help you or not. Some of these questions that I'll ask you in just a second, and hopefully it will. And if it doesn't, just act like it does, so I don't feel bad. The whole message, okay? So you can lie to me. That'll be fine. Just this one time. But I really do believe today's going to be a fun day, a fun message. How many of you don't have to raise your hand or anything this time, but sometimes in life I feel this way, and maybe you have before. I hear this all the time. People will be like, man, I never, ever have any time to relax. I never have time to relax. I feel like life is spinning out of control. It seems like there's always 8 million things going on. I'm running from here to there and everywhere in between. It's either work or it's school or it's whatever. it could be sports. It could be 8 million baseball practices and games or dance or this or that or the other. I don't even know. There's all kind of stuff for everybody now. You never know what anybody does, but have you ever seen those people that spin plates? They just spin plates all over their body. First of all, how do you even figure out you can do that? I don't even understand that at all. But nonetheless, they got like 32 plates and they're spinning it on their elbows, spinning it on their ear, their nose. It's bizarre. Maybe that's how you feel in life. If you've ever felt that way, this message is gonna help you. I really do believe if you will apply it. If you don't apply it, it's not gonna help you. It'll encourage you for 12 seconds and then it won't help you at all. Because you need to know this, you're not changed by the truth you hear, you're changed by the truth you apply. So if you don't apply it, that's not on me. It's just my job to make sure you hear it. And then once you hear it, that's on you. That's one of the best things about being a pastor. I can't force you to fix stuff. I can just show you in a lot of ways how God can do it. I'm gonna do that today. If you've ever felt that way, this will be good. Have you ever had high maintenance friends? Stop it. Don't hit that person. I saw that. Those high maintenance friends. If you don't ever and have never had a high maintenance friend, that's because you're the high maintenance friend. And there's always that one, right? The one that's a little bit more needy than everybody else. The one that they'll send you a text message, and if you don't respond in 8 seconds, they either think you're dead, they think that you hate them and their family and Jesus and everybody else in between. It's those people. It's the ones that when they call you and you don't answer, they call 31 more times in a row. You know what I'm talking about? Stop doing that if that's you. That's a high maintenance friend. If you have high maintenance friends that you consistently find yourself saying yes to their requests. Have you ever said yes to somebody and you didn't really want to say yes? And the thing that you said yes to is like weeks away. And so for the next several weeks, you just get more mad at them every day because you have to do this thing that you don't really want to do. And you're like, dang it, it's my fault because I'm the one that said yes, but I don't really want to do it. If you have that scenario, what we're going to talk about today is going to help you. If you've ever felt like you need more hours in the day, you ever said that? Like, if I could just have a few more hours in the day, and you can put them where you need them. Sometimes you need more hours in the day to get some more work done. Sometimes you need more hours in the day so you can go to sleep, whatever. If you've ever felt like you need more hours in the day, if you've ever said any of those things that I said, today's going to help you. Now, let me give you some ground rules. This message that I'm going to share with you is simple, but it's not easy. You know the difference. Simple means it's not complicated. Easy means it's not hard. Sometimes the simplest things can be the most difficult. And this is going to be one of those one of those things that to apply it, it's a little bit more difficult than it should be, and it's a little bit more difficult than it sounds. And the reason is because most people, it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, most people, we err towards the side of being people pleasers. Like we want people to like us. Right? I mean, I've never met a single person that just does not want people to like them. I've gotten to the point where I'm okay if somebody doesn't like me, but I still want them to. It's not like I'm like, I would really prefer if this whole segment of the population hates me. I just think that would be amazing. No, I'm not that mature yet, or I'm not that weird. You know what I mean? So everybody wants people to like them, but sometimes your desire for people to like you can become a little bit unhealthy and cause you to do stuff that you really don't want to do and do stuff that you probably shouldn't do, all because you're afraid of what that person's going to say about you or what they're going to think about you. And you don't want to disappoint people. Maybe you've got this, this fear of disappointing people. So you constantly end up doing stuff you don't want to do, saying yes to things that you really don't have time for. And it's all for those reasons that I just outlined. And as a result, that's what ends up making the practical application of what we're going to talk about difficult to apply. And I'm going to show you this. Remember, I told you it's simple, but it's not easy. Say simple. It's simple, but it's not easy. So I'm just going ahead and putting that out there. I need you to know it. It's simple, but it's not easy. Sometimes I feel weird giving these little simple messages like this because this isn't one of those messages where you're going to be like, that's the smartest man I've ever seen in my life. You're not going to think that. You're going to be like, well, duh. And I'm going to say, well, duh. If you just would have applied this simplicity, you wouldn't be in the situation that you're in. You understand? And the reason I know, I'm an expert on this. And the reason I'm an expert is because I've been on the wrong side of this too many times. Sometimes when you've been on the wrong side of something too many times, you become an expert by accident. And I'm an accidental expert. I am a recovering expert right now. And I'm going to share with you some things that have helped me, and hopefully it'll help you. A guy in the Bible, his name was Paul. Paul, just quick backstory, his life, throughout most of his life, his goal was to hurt people that were followers of Jesus. Sounds crazy, but that was legitimately his goal. He was, in essence, like a terrorist against Christians. He has an encounter with Jesus, becomes a follower of Jesus, and he no longer desires to hurt people that are followers of Jesus. Now he wants to help people that are followers of Jesus. And he says this, he writes this letter, and here's what it said, Galatians chapter 6. It says, brothers and sisters, if someone is caught in a sin, that means when somebody messes up, notice it's going to be when you mess up, because everybody messes up, right? Every person. We're not that church that we pretend to be perfect. If that's the church you're looking for, this isn't that. Nobody in this room is perfect. I'm not perfect. I am so far from perfect, it scares me sometimes. But he says, if any of you are caught in a sin, you who live by the Spirit, those of you that are followers of Jesus, should restore that person gently. Two words that are key. Restore, that's the first one. The reason that's important is because the goal, I've taught on this before, so I'm just going to give you a brief snapshot. The goal when somebody falls is to catch them, not to catch them. Does that make sense? I want to be a catch them kind of church. I refuse to lead a church that's a catch them kind of church. That's not going to be the way this church is as long as I'm here. So he says, I want you to restore them gently. The goal is to get them back on the right track. And he uses that phrase, that's important, the phrase gently. That's important. Because some people are like, I was just trying to help you. That's why I punched you in the throat. That's not what I mean. It's restore them gently. It's to help them gently. It's to bring them along. It's a journey more than it is a destination. He says that's kind of the way that you need to live. Now, then after that, he says some stuff that's going to get to the point of what we're talking about today. Watch. Carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. If anyone thinks they are something when they are not, they deceive themselves. Each one should test their own actions, then they can take pride in themselves alone without comparing themselves to somebody else. Now, watch this. This sounds like the opposite of what he just said. He says, for each one should carry their own load. So, I don't know, did you see what he said? At the beginning, he said, carry each other's burdens. Then he says, carry your own load. Have you ever read something in the Bible and you're like, that doesn't make any sense. Carry each other's burdens. Carry your own load. I've heard this my whole life, and I've never understood this my whole life. I wanted to be like Paul, because that's the guy who wrote it. I wanted to be like, Paul, what are you talking about? That makes no sense to me. It sounds like you said one thing on one hand and another thing on the other hand, and neither one of those two things make any sense. They contradict. That's what it seems. Because he says, carry each other's burdens and then carry your own load. Now, you got to remember, when Paul wrote it, he didn't write it in English. The reason he didn't write it in English is because he did not know English. And so as a result, he wrote it in his language, and then over the course of a couple thousand years, it's been translated into English. Now, when he wrote it to them and he said it to them, they all understood it. It made total sense. But to us, we get this contradiction of carry each other's burdens, share each other's burdens, and carry your own load. It sounds like a contradiction to me. It's okay to admit that. It's okay to say that it sounds like a contradiction. Just look to the person next to you and say, it's all right, it's good. It's okay. Now let me share with you why it's not as big of a contradiction as it may seem. Here's what he's getting at. He says everybody's got to carry their own load. In other words, everybody's got some daily responsibilities. That's what a load is. A load is your daily responsibilities that nobody else should do for me. There are things that I got to do for me. Okay? You can't brush my teeth. That'd be so weird. I would not like you if you did that. If somebody else tries to brush my teeth, I'm going to punch them in the throat because that would require them to be far too close to me, and it's a little bit awkward, and I got perfectly good hands and perfectly good teeth, and I can do this on my own. I am a big boy now. I can make this happen. There are certain things I can do for myself. I can wake myself up in the morning to go to the gym or to go to the office. I don't need you to do it. And if I don't go to the gym because I don't wake up in time, which I'm a morning person, so I almost always do. If I don't wake up on time, I can't be like, I am so upset because some of my church people, they did not call me and wake me up. Nobody knocked on my door at 5 a.m. to come tell me it was time to be awake. The reason I would never blame you for that is because that's my daily responsibility. It is my daily responsibility to pay my bills. Do you know this? I can't be like, man, I didn't make my house payment this month because these people up at the church, they didn't come and bring me no money. I mean, it's just the saddest thing. I try to be their pastor and they just never came and paid my bill. No, that's my responsibility. It's not your responsibility. It's my job to keep my job. It's my job to work hard. You can't work hard for me. I got to work hard. That's my responsibility. Does this make sense? Now, your responsibilities change throughout life. Like, for example, when I'm 3, I don't have hardly anything up in my backpack. I mean, in my backpack when I'm 3, it's like probably, I don't even remember because I was 3, but I think I probably had to like put my toys away. And even that I probably didn't do very good at. It's just put your stuff away so nobody steps on Legos, and I don't think I even played with Legos. Put your baseballs away, put your footballs away, put your basketballs away, put the ball away so that nobody steps on it and falls down the stairs or whatever the case may be. That's pretty much what was in my backpack. Well, when I became 10, there was more up in my backpack. When you're 3, I need my mom and dad to get me something to drink if I want something to drink. But when I'm 10, I got a 10-year-old. He asked me for a drink. You know what I can say to him? Go get you a drink. I got you a drink for 6 years. You can go get you a drink, and while you're at it, bring me a drink. I can mow the lawn for all those years. Now it's your turn, big boy. You can mow the lawn. You can do it. That is now, I am putting the lawnmower in your backpack. When I'm 20, what's in my backpack is different than when I'm 10. When I'm 39, what's in my backpack looks different than when I was 20. Does this make sense? It's your daily responsibilities. When Paul tells us, he says, you are supposed to make sure that you are carrying your own load. He says, I want you to be in charge of your own backpack and all the stuff that's in it. You're in charge. Now, that's what he means by that last portion of that verse. Now, before that verse, I'll put this back on. He says, what I want you to do also is to carry each other's burdens. Carry each other's burdens. So what he's getting at is a burden, good Lord, is an occasional responsibility. It's an occasional responsibility. I mean, for example, a burden is something that was unexpected that happens in life. You know, in life, you got to prepare for the unexpected, right? Because that's what we get in life. Now, a boulder is different than a backpack. That's how you know I'm smart. I'll tell you this, it's a lot heavier than a backpack. That's why I keep switching hands. But a boulder is like somebody has an unexpected long-term illness that you never saw coming. That's a boulder. A boulder is long-term unemployment. And you've been doing everything that you can possibly do to get a job. You've been filling out applications. You've been going to the interviews. You've been doing all the stuff, and nothing seems to be working out. A boulder is that scenario where maybe you just got a divorce. That's a boulder. You're not always going to be going through the divorce, but right now you are. It's extra. It doesn't go in a backpack because the backpack is just your daily responsibilities. But the divorce can be a boulder because it's heavy, it's burdensome, and you didn't really know that it was going to show up. And what Paul says is that you got to carry your own backpack and you got to share each other's boulder. That's what he says that we're supposed to do. Now, the problem, and this is what Paul's getting at, and this is why this is amazing. This makes so much more sense now that I understand the context. The problem in life, and the reason you feel like you need more hours in the day, and the reason that life is spinning out of control and you're always busy and you never have time to rest, you never have time for yourself, the reason is because you've confused what's a boulder and what's a backpack. And if you get these two confused, you're going to live life at a frantic pace, and you're never going to be the person that God created you to be because you're not going to have time to work on yourself because you're not going to have any margin to be able to even think about doing it. So Paul's like, if you get those two confused, it's just simply going to mess you up. Now, that being said, let me show you why we get this all mixed up. I'm going to show you a couple reasons. The first thing you gotta see, this is what I had to learn. I had to learn it and I got to keep learning it. But the thing I had to learn was that, I said this a little bit, backpacks are not boulders. Backpacks are not boulders. I told you, brilliance on display up here on the stage right now. Backpacks are not boulders. Now, let me show you this. He says, I got to put that down. That thing's heavy. He says, what you need to know is that you've got to stop carrying other people's backpacks. You know why? Because you got your own backpack. You can't be carrying around everybody else's backpack. If you're carrying somebody else's backpack, you might drop your backpack. If you carry around somebody else's backpack, you think it's because you're nice. It's actually because you're an enabler. I've learned that if you say something that sounds kind of harsh, you just smile afterwards. It makes it better. If you consistently are carrying around somebody else's backpack, it's because you are an enabler. Not only are you not supposed to carry somebody else's backpack, you're also not supposed to hand somebody else your backpack. It's your backpack. It goes on your shoulder. You got to drop that one. But don't you be trying to drop this one. You can't drop this one. This one you got to hold on to because this one's yours. Does this make sense? You can't drop your daily responsibilities for any reason. Some of us drop our daily responsibilities because we're trying to handle somebody else's daily responsibilities. And Paul says you can't be doing that. You got to make sure you don't drop your responsibilities and don't be trying to pass your responsibilities on to somebody else. Now, let me tell you what I'm not saying, because I know how some of y'all are. You're going to go home today and your spouse is going to say, honey, will you get me a drink? And you're going to say, no, that is not my backpack. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about that. Sometimes you can grab a drink for somebody. Sometimes you can help somebody out. It's not what I'm saying. But it's not my responsibility to handle your daily responsibilities. It's not the church's job to fix every ailment of every single person. I don't know if you knew this. Some people don't know this. It's not my job to fix you. It's not your job to fix me, because I can't fix you and you can't fix me. My name's JR, not Jesus. It starts with the same letter, but that's about all we got. So you got to know backpacks are not boulders. The other thing you got to know, watch this. This one will mess you up a little bit. Your boulder is not my boulder. Now that works the other way too. My boulder is not your boulder. Which I'm getting a shoulder workout right here. My boulder is not your boulder, and your boulder is not my boulder. You can't be walking around in life trying to grab everybody else's boulder. Because let me tell you, let me show you what happens. I'm going to come down here. Can you stand up for a second? Let's face this way. Let's do that. That's perfect. I'm warning you, this thing's heavy. If I come up and I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm tired of carrying this big old heavy boulder. I don't want to deal with all these responsibilities. Couldn't you take it? Be ready. It's heavy, isn't it? Yeah. Don't say kinda. That makes me sound bad. No, it's pretty heavy.
Wait, 2 hands.
No words, just hands. That's it. Give me back my boulder. If I give him hold it again. If he holds my boulder for a long time, don't hold it with 2. I was holding it with 1 hand. If he holds my boulder for a long time, you know what? He's not going to like me very much, because he's going to be secretly wondering, how come he don't get his boulder back? That boulder's heavy. And he's got his own backpack on. Here, let me show you this. We didn't plan this. Put this on. But you're holding my boulder, you might as well hold my backpack. I'm not putting it on your arm, I'm putting it up there on your head. That's what causes people to feel, watch, this is going to hurt. That's what causes people to feel strangled in life. That was fun, never done that in church before. I've wanted to, I just never been able to do it. I'm going to start bringing backpacks everywhere I go. It's just an illustration, I'm not trying to be mean. But look, some of you, the reason you're so tired, the reason you don't have any time and no margin and no anything else, because you think you're nice and you think you're trying to be like Jesus, when really you're just enabling everybody else to avoid their own responsibilities. You need to give the boulder back. You need to give take that one off carefully. You need to give the backpack back. Give me that one too. You need to give no, you got to keep yours. I don't want your backpack. When it says to share each other's boulder, watch. Now it's not heavy, is it? I mean, we're holding it with fingers, basically. And it's designed so that he can help me carry it for a season of time. Say a season. Not forever. Yeah. Some of them people are going to they're going to try to get you to stay there. They're going to try to get you to hold it forever. It ain't my job to hold your boulder with you forever. It's a season. Does that make sense? I'm telling you, this is helping somebody. If it's not, you're not listening as good as I'm trying to preach it. Because thank you. You can give me this back. Give him a hand if you would. So you got to know, my boulder is not your boulder. Your boulder is not my boulder. If you feel like you always need more hours in the day, and I'm not talking about you had a busy week, so you feel like you need more hours in the day. I'm talking about you've lived a busy life and you cannot get it under control. Because can I tell you, you're going to have busy weeks. Can I tell you what that's called? Life. And sometimes we just got to get over it. I'm so busy. So is everybody else. But if that is the MO of how you live your life, it's the indicator of a problem. You can be busy for a minute. You don't need to be busy forever. If Satan can't make you bad, he'll just settle with making you busy. Usually, busyness is not a sign of being a hard worker. Usually, busyness, long term, is a sign of being a bad planner. Busyness is moving around. We're not called to be busy. We're called to make progress. Busyness is moving around. Progress is moving forward. I want to move forward. I don't want to just be like, do you see the bare spot in the grass in that circle? That's where I was. I was just busy. If you are constantly trying to carry other people's boulders and carry other people's backpacks, you know what you need? You need a thing. Here's what it's called. It's gonna help you. It's called boundaries. Say boundaries. You need some boundaries. Let me tell you about boundaries for a minute, because boundaries sometimes carry a negative connotation, even though it shouldn't. When I moved into our house, we have Sarge the boxer. And we don't call him Sarge the boxer. We call him Sarge. Sarge the boxer would be overkill. But for sake of this illustration, Sarge the boxer, we had to put in a fence. We had to put a fence in to keep him from running out and getting out in other people's yards and out on the golf thing and all that stuff. We had to keep Sarge the boxer in. Now, we did not design that fence as a boundary to limit the dog's freedom. We put that fence to give him complete freedom within the realm of the boundary. It's designed, the fence, the boundary is designed to keep the good, Sarge the boxer, in, and to keep the bad, any other dog, out. That's why we put in the fence. Did you know that's why we lock the doors to our house? To keep the good, me, in, and to keep the bad, maybe some crazy people, I don't know if they're in here or not, to keep them out. The good in, the bad out. That's what boundaries are for. Boundaries will tell you what's okay and what's not okay in a relationship. That's what boundaries are for. Boundaries help you know the difference between a boulder and a backpack. That's why you got to have some boundaries. Now, let me tell you how to get some boundaries. This is easy. This is so easy. This is so easy. No. This is so simple. But it's not necessarily easy. I'm going to come down here and tell you, because some of y'all need me to look you in the eyes and tell you. That'll help you. I came down here one time and I started liking it so much, we changed the configuration of the room so that I could do it. One good way to get a boundary. You ready? Learn. This is going to help you. You need to write this down. If you don't write this down, it's your fault. It's going to sound crazy. You're not going to want to write it down, but if you were good at it, you wouldn't need me to say it. And you need me to say it, which means you're not good at it. You got to learn how to say no. No. Look at somebody next to you and say no. No. Do it like I did it. No. Can I tell you a secret of saying no? I'll tell you a secret. It's a good secret. This is important. Did you know that when you say no, you do not have to give a reason why? I am going to save you from lying. Have you ever said no and then immediately your brain goes to come up with the reason, come up with the reason, come up with the reason? Really, the reason is I do not want to do that. But you're like, I can't because, and then you lie. I'm going to try to help you and keep you from lying. You got to learn how to say no. You don't have to give a reason why. You know those people, your high maintenance friends, they'll be like, no and thank you for the opportunity. But the answer is still no. Sometimes the answer is the Holy Spirit speaking through the Word of God. Sometimes the answer is just say no. This is your brain on yes. You remember those commercials way back in the day? Just say no. My ADD mind went to like a drug commercial from 1987. You got to learn how to say no. You don't have to make an explanation either. You want me to? Oh, because I own a truck, you thought that meant I want to help you and your friends move all your stuff? That's why I will never buy a truck. My wife wants me to buy a truck. She loves gigantic trucks. And I'm like, no. Why? Because everybody thinks if you own a truck that you want to own a moving company for free. And all the truck drivers said, amen. I pay to move when I move. So when you say no, you don't have to come up with where else you're going to be. You can just say no. The second thing you can do, I'm going to stay down here because I want to. Second thing you can do is you got to know that the cure for drama is distance. It's distance. Now, those of you that remember back in the day, since this is Mother's Day, I'm not going to say save your drama for your mama because you don't do that on Mother's Day. The cure for drama is distance. You remember them high maintenance friends? You know what you got to do sometimes? Sometimes you got to distance yourself from your high maintenance friend. That doesn't mean you don't love your high maintenance friend. That doesn't mean that you don't ever talk to him. It just means sometimes you might have to create some distance. Oh, but that hurts. That'll hurt their feelings. Sometimes what people need is to have their feelings hurt so that they can stop handing their backpack to everybody. And you're like, this does not sound like Jesus. I'll show you in a minute how many times Jesus said no. Jesus would be like, don't be trying to give me that backpack. I don't want your backpack. There's stuff I am not going to do for you if you're unwilling to do it for yourself. You can pray for it all day long. Sometimes people use prayer as an excuse to disobey. Because sometimes God's like, if you would just do what I told you to do, I would have already answered that prayer 6 months ago. Now, let me say what I'm not saying. Because you can't go home and be like, my toddler, that joker's high maintenance. I'm creating some distance. That joker needs to stay over there. I'm staying over here. I'm not talking about that. Don't be trying to use me as an excuse for neglect. It says in Proverbs chapter 22, verse 3, the prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going. The simple means the fool. The fool keeps going and pays the penalty. I asked you at the beginning, how many of you, I didn't say raise your hand, but how many of you wish there was more hours in the day? How many of you feel like life is spinning out of control? How many of you feel like you just can't seem to get ahead? You're always just running in this circle and there's no forward progress. If you want something different, you got to do something different. That's what this verse is telling us. He says, the simple, the foolish person, they just keep doing life the way they've always done it. And then it says they pay the price for it. That's what I'm trying to help you to see is that you can't go through life carrying everybody else's stuff. You can't carry everybody else's backpacks. You can't carry everybody else's boulders. You're gonna get weighed down. This is gonna be, see if I can do this with my hand. You're gonna get weighed down. If you got all this stuff, you're like, I'm just trying to be like Jesus. I'm just trying to be kind and nice, and I'm trying to carry everybody's burdens. You're carrying more than their burden, and you're not supposed to carry their burden anyway as much as you're supposed to share it. I can't carry everybody else's backpack. If you think you can, it's not a sign that you're strong, it's a sign that you're weak. You're too weak to say no. And you're too weak to set up boundaries that God put in place to be able to help you. Sometimes you know what you got to do? You got to let people know that decisions carry consequences. You know decisions carry consequences. When it comes to carrying those consequences, the thing that needs to happen, you got to understand that it's difficult sometimes to let people deal with their consequences because you love them so much. One of the hardest things of being a parent, can I tell you what it is as your kids get older? I got 3. You have to selectively choose when you're going to let your kids stumble. Because if you're the parent that tries to fix everything for your child their whole life, you're going to have to do it their whole life. And they're going to never know what it's like to carry their own backpack. Now, don't be stupid. Don't be like, I got to teach them about the backpack. I'm going to let them date when they're 7. I'm going to send them out there. No, don't. Come on. Be smart. Don't fix everything for them. Don't fix every single problem. But the same thing's true with your friends and everybody else, all the other relationships that are in your life. But Pastor, I thought we were supposed to. I thought we were supposed to just catch everybody and just carry them around. I mean, Jesus, you know him. He blonde hair, blue eyes, petting a sheep everywhere he went. That's Jesus. I bet he was so nice. Jesus said no plenty of times. Matter of fact, to be like Jesus, you got to be like Jesus. And to be like Jesus, Jesus chose what he said yes to and what he said no to. People used to ask him to do stuff and he would say, I can't do that right now. Crowds would follow him everywhere he went. And oftentimes throughout the Bible, you would see he left the crowd who was calling his name and he went up on a mountain to pray. You know why he had to do that? You know why he had to get by himself? Even though there was a lot of people with a lot of boulders and a lot of backpacks. Because most of the time, the reason we can't pour into other people's lives is because we are empty ourselves. And if you walk around empty, when somebody needs to share their boulder with you for a season, you're not going to have anything to offer them. So Jesus would say, no, I can't do that right now. Whenever people would make requests, Jesus would say, no, that's a misguided request. I'm not going to do that right now. When people would ask him questions, if Jesus didn't want to answer, he wouldn't answer the question. Now, he said yes to things. And he didn't just say yes, because I also don't want you to hear me say, only say yes to the stuff that's fun. Only say yes to the things that you really want to do. It's not what I'm saying. Because Jesus said yes to the cross. Jesus said yes to being willing to die so that you and I could be forgiven. So it's not just stuff that benefit you. Sometimes you do need to say yes to the things that benefit other people. But you can't say yes to the things that benefit other people if you're carrying around backpacks of other people. Does this make sense? I hope it does to more than 3 people who said yes whenever I ask the question. Does this make sense to you? Yes. I wonder what you're carrying that you were never intended to carry. I can't answer it. I don't know. I wonder what you're carrying, though, that you were never intended to carry right now. I wonder if the reason you're tired And the reason you want more hours in the day is because you've been carrying somebody's boulder and you need to know how to give it back. Or maybe you got about 14 backpacks on. And while one backpack isn't all that heavy, you give me 14. 14 is going to be a little bit burdensome if I have to carry it for any amount of time. I can carry just about anything for a minute. But if I got to carry it for the next 3 months, the next 3 years, you know what happens? Resentment starts building in the relationship, and it drives a wedge between you and them. And I bet you've seen it happen. So what you need to do this week, what I need to do, we got to create some boundaries. And we got to say, this week, we're going to do this thing differently. We're going to help carry each other's burdens. We're going to, because we're going to have time to do it. Because we're carrying our own load, our own backpack. But this is the only one I'm carrying. I'm not carrying yours. I'm sorry, I've been carrying, maybe you need to have this conversation. You probably don't need to word it just like this. I've been carrying your backpack for the past decade. It's coming back to you this week. And it will make the relationship better. Even if it doesn't happen right away, it will in the days ahead. Would you pray with me real quick? Dear Lord, I love you. And I'm grateful for you. And I pray for every person that's here today. I pray that you would move powerfully in their heart and in their life. I pray and ask that you would just help us to put the boundaries in our lives that we need. Help us not to be afraid of people and to be people pleasers any longer. We need to know the difference between boulders and backpacks. We do want to be a church that walks alongside people, and we will be a church that walks alongside people. But God, help us to know the difference in a load and just a burden that somebody has that wants to put it on you. God, I pray that you would help us to have wisdom and to be wise, not foolish, but wise, to adjust how we're living so that we can get something different than what we're getting. For those that are tired in the room, God, I pray that you would energize them. Do what only you can do in their heart and in their life. We love you, and we're grateful in advance for what you're going to do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you so much for tuning in. We are grateful to have you as part of our online family right here at Freedom Church. Now, if you are ready to take your next steps, I would love for you to do that. Go to freedomchurch.tv/next steps, and you will find all the information that you need. Also, if you are ready to begin giving right here at Freedom Church, you're ready to be obedient in that area, down in the description below, you can click the giving link, and when you do, it'll give you all the information that you need as well. In addition, while you're doing that, go ahead and click the subscribe button. That way you can stay up to date with everything going on with the Freedom Church YouTube channel. I love you guys. I hope you have an amazing week.